Hi, welcome to Tinfoil Handkerchief Alignment, and today I'm going to talk about the fifth astrological sign in the zodiac, Leo. Represented by the lion, Leo rules from July 23rd to August 22nd. Leo is a fixed fire sign and are often bold, confident, and charismatic natural leaders. In the major arcana of tarot, Leo is often represented in the Strength card. Many decks will depict a lion as either a representation of inner strength or as a person taming the lion with courageous love and compassion rather than force or control. It's a representation of calm confidence and demonstrating self-control when it comes to desires, temptations, and impulses, which coincides with the astrological sign of Leo as well. Leo is also associated with the Sun card of the major arcana, as the Sun is the ruling planetary body associated with Leo, representing vitality, success, joy, and contentment. The Sun as a planetary body is associated with health and vitality, our inner spark of passion, personal power, confidence, and self-worth, as well as decision-making, personal passions, and willpower. Gold is the color associated with Leo, reminiscent of the warmth and radiance of the sun. Though it can represent wealth, it can also symbolize charismatic confidence and leadership, as Leo does. Other colors associated with Leo are predominantly warm in palette. Orange and warm yellow represent vitality and creativity. Orange is bold, yellow is cheerfully optimistic. Both are confident. Red is also a bold color and also represents personal power and passions. Purple can also be associated with Leo. It's not a warm color per se, but since it's a mix of red and blue, it's like the balance between warm and cold colors. Just as Leo can represent finding balance between the gentle and the maybe more wild, so to speak, aspects within self, yellow is the color associated with the solar plexus, which is the primary chakra associated with Leo. As many traits commonly associated with Leo are represented within this energy center of the body, though there are other aspects commonly associated with Leos that are associated with the heart and the crown chakras as well. With a balanced solar plexus, Leos can really shine. They're like star quality. They can often find confidence in their personal power and authenticity. Because they're so charismatic, they can radiate real main character energy. Like their ruling planetary body, the sun, tend to naturally become the center of attention. People are often drawn to them, which aren't bad qualities to have when balanced. However, when the solar plexus and various corresponding aspects that Leos may have more of a natural, negatively attuned energetic baseline to, they can be more predisposed to becoming egocentric, arrogant, or self-centered, which can also cause them to feel insecure and seek excessive attention or external validation from others. They can struggle with feeling ignored when not the focus of attention or if they're feeling criticized. Even if the criticism is constructive, if they are more negatively attuned, they may find it embarrassing or like they've been one-upped. They can be known to hold grudges over these kinds of perceived slights, feeling embarrassed by it, and might feel it in the ego a bit. However, if positively attuned and more receptive to constructive feedback, which they can sometimes struggle with, or just generally more open to the ideas of others, it can enhance their creativity, passion, and innovation. When taking the lead, they would be more inclined to be fair, generous, and brave if they're more positively attuned. If they're more negatively attuned, they can struggle in those same aspects. Because they are natural leaders or kings of the astrological jungle, so to speak, as lions are in the wild, when negatively attuned, they can feel threatened by perceived rivals. They can become overly competitive, jealous, and dramatic. They can become demanding, bossy, and hyper-focused to maintain their position of being the center of attention or primary focus, which can apply to a lot of different situations, not just like relationships or professional endeavors. I think this goes back to what I was saying in the Aries episode, as there are a lot of similarities between the two, which makes sense considering they're both fire signs. In the Aries episode, I talked about how those who are confident or looked to as leaders or decision makers can be naturally deferred to a lot by others who may feel less confident, more inclined towards introversion, less secure, or willing to take risks for themselves. Leos are known to be confident and loyal, so they would be more inclined to step up in a lot of situations. But like Aries, they may struggle with knowing when to step back to allow others opportunities to speak, do, receive praise, make decisions, or lead in certain situations. When positively attuned, that becomes easier to discern, knowing when to do what kind of thing. Because Leos are so charismatic and bold, it's really just a matter of being open and supportive when they're not the center of attention for a moment or within certain situations, so that they can allow others to feel seen, heard, and supported. With that said, the warmth and generosity of Leos can actually help others feel seen, heard, and supported, because if and when they're able to do that, it would also help boost confidence in others. A Leo deferring to someone else to let them have a moment to shine, or showing their support when they do, mean a lot to someone else who may be less confident or secure in themselves, because they can just shine so bright. Which isn't a bad thing. It can also make others feel like a support cast sometimes. So allowing others to share the stage, so to speak, helps them gain more confidence to become the main characters in their own stories. I say it like that because I think a lot of people struggle a lot with knowing when to be the main character in their story and a supporting character in someone else's. And I'm talking about it in terms of stage, because Leos are just associated with like star quality kind of thing. Think of it in terms of introverts and extroverts, as Leos are typically more extroverted. Those who can be more inclined to be introverted can often be more passive and will defer often to others. They may feel more confident in a supporting role, such as within a friend group. They're not going to be the ones that always talks or, makes the decision, what are we going to do tonight kind of thing. But that can also be because of insecurities within self. Sometimes they don't want to have conversations, let alone step up or take the lead in situations. Having an extrovert around helps alleviate some of that social pressure, because extroverts usually display more outward confidence, even if they themselves feel a level of insecurity. They often speak up for their introverts. When you look at it in terms of friend groups, there's usually one who is super extroverted and there's usually one who is much more introverted than that. However, it's important for those who are more extroverted, like Leos are more inclined to be, to understand the difference between speaking up for and speaking for, which can also be a challenge within relationship dynamics between introverts and extroverts, which applies to relationships of any kind. Sometimes introverts do want to lead a conversation or speak up in conversations or have a moment to shine of their own, but they often feel either insecure, awkward, or just don't know how to go about it. It doesn't mean they don't want to, but if they panic in the moment, they'd be more inclined to deferring to their extrovert kind of thing. The introvert would gain more confidence, feeling supported and encouraged by someone who they see as less insecure or awkward kind of thing. But if their extrovert always starts just assuming that role, it might make the introvert feel more introverted, if that makes sense. And extroverts could also still struggle with pressure of feeling like they always have to be the one to take the lead, especially if they don't feel secure in that moment or situation, which also kind of goes back to what I was saying in the Aries episode as well. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out, especially with a sign like Leo, who may be less inclined to admit when they're feeling insecure, but may take it a little bit more personally, get down on themselves, or feel it in their ego if something isn't received as well as they intended, or if they're wrong about something. They might not necessarily admit it, but then they might also feel embarrassed that they don't know, or for how they might be perceived for not knowing or being unsure. Like the worry of being perceived as insecure or feeling like being perceived as not having it all together would be like a threat to their legitimacy or social status, which isn't necessarily true. It's just an aspect within self that needs to be healed in terms of confidence and insecurity kind of thing. That's just an example, and there are still a lot of nuances within these examples that I could probably do whole episodes about. The gist of it is, like everything, it's all about finding balance. balance, especially when it comes to relationship dynamics with others. It's like learning to share the stage, so to speak, and embracing complementary aspects of others, but also giving them space to strengthen aspects within self that they may feel like are weaknesses. Especially if you have complementary strengths and weaknesses, you can help each other grow, kind of thing. Like introverts may struggle with a lack of confidence, but extroverts may struggle with the need for external validation, which shows different strengths, weaknesses, needs, and insecurities in both. But they can be complementary to each other. Finding balance within those relationships can help both improve their areas of weakness, if that makes sense. And these concepts apply to a lot of situations, and it's not just specific to Leos. I'm just talking about traits commonly associated with Leos, and I'm using introverts and extroverts as an example because Leos are usually known to be more extroverted than others. Finding that balance within relationship dynamics can help guide each other in positively attuning aspects that were previously negatively attuned. With that said, I did talk in a previous episode about energetic drain within relationships, and again, relationships of any kind. So without finding that level of balance and only focusing on these are my strengths and these are your strengths, it can become energetically depleting. Like I was saying about if the extrovert starts speaking for the introvert because they feel like the introvert never speaks up, it can cause the introvert to become more introverted because they'd be more inclined to feel like they're not allowed to do so. And maybe it might take them a while to warm up to that kind of thing. So they would want to move at their own pace. Extroverts might get frustrated that the introvert isn't necessarily going at the same speed that they would go at, kind of thing, if that makes sense. Just as, for example, if an introvert is trying to teach an extrovert about maybe stepping back a bit sometimes, it can start to come across as critical, and the extrovert may start feeling socially held back. So it's a matter of finding balance, but also understanding for others. It shouldn't be about trying to force other people to be different. Healthy relationships help people grow and positively attune negatively attuned aspects within self. So it's good to have healthy relationships and open communication, that kind of thing. When Leos are more negatively attuned, they can also be more inclined to be a little bit more vain and can become insecure if they don't get the amount of external validation that they're seeking. Again, this isn't specific to Leos, just using traits commonly associated with Leos as an example. I think it's important to note that wanting to look good in terms of physical appearance and being vain are separate things. I wouldn't necessarily say that wanting to dress well or look good is being vain. It's more about how much external validation you seek from it and how you equate it to self-worth and self-perception. Like, do you need to be told that you look good in order to feel good about yourself, kind of thing? I say that because I've mentioned in previous episodes that I used to base my self-worth on how attractive other people saw me, which for the most part, I put personal pressure on myself over my weight. And I let it impact my confidence and my self-worth, to the point where when I started receiving compliments about how good I looked when I lost weight, I was more inclined to be more unhealthy to maintain receiving the compliments and being perceived as being attractive, which I was relying on those compliments to feel, if that makes sense. It was a boost to my ego and I liked the attention. And I sought more of it at expense to my personal health because at the time I hadn't healed aspects pertaining to my self-worth and confidence within myself. And since my ego was maybe a little bit more inflated from the newfound compliments, I didn't realize I was just maintaining an illusion of confidence and self-worth instead of actually feeling confident and good about myself, because I was basing my self-worth in external validation from others and their perceptions of me. It was like letting other people tell me what I should feel good about, right? When I have a lot of other great qualities besides physical appearance. It's not really a quality to begin with. It's not one of my best traits. To be fair, there is another side to that as well, which I've also struggled with, mostly in how I physically present myself, such as how I dress, particularly in professional settings, or when I go to like a special event or something like that. I've always had a tendency to prioritize being comfortable rather than looking sharp. When I moved into more of a corporate setting, I found that I enjoyed dressing up a bit more, but I wasn't as dressy or as fashionable as a lot of others. Some of that was because I was bigger, so to feel comfortable about my stomach, which was my biggest area of insecurity, I'd either wear clothes too big, or if I was wearing something more form-fitting, my muffin top would be on full display, and then I got like really insecure about it. So I usually had like a hoodie to have over my stomach kind of thing. And I would try to divert the attention via showing as much cleavage as I could get away with without it being considered too inappropriate. Because then at least then they were looking at something other than my stomach. All aspects within self and pertaining to my confidence and self-worth that I needed to heal within myself to feel more confident. All that to say, there was a perception that I wasn't serious or I wasn't taken seriously just based on how I dressed. I didn't really look polished even when I tried, and I struggled to feel confident in it because others were still more polished looking than I was. And the perception of others about my external appearance did, in a lot of ways, impact their perception of my competence, skills, and experience for things unrelated to how I dressed. How I dress doesn't mean that I'm any less good at stuff. I struggled with that for a long time because that's actually pretty common for those kinds of environments. But I will say that my lack of confidence in how I looked would have had an impact on how I was being perceived. I wouldn't have been exuding confidence because I was always worried about how others thought that I looked. So at the time, I was seeking that external validation. As I healed aspects within myself, I became more confident. People might feel a way about how I present myself, but what does spending all my time worrying about the opinions of others really do for me? Except make me feel worse about myself. Self-worth shouldn't be based in the opinions of others because it's called self-worth. If it is, your actual confidence suffers and instead becomes a fancy-looking insecurity. And that's not to say I don't enjoy looking good, wearing makeup, dressing well, or anything like that. I still do it once in a while. I just don't prioritize it because I don't need it to feel valuable, confident, or good about myself. More often than not, it's for making a good impression on other people. Vanity is more about basing your personal self-worth and level of confidence in the external validation of others. Wanting to dress up and looking good is separate from that. It's just a matter of understanding that looking good and feeling good aren't the same thing. And also understanding that different people have different tastes or perceptions of what looks or feels good. And most of those aspects correlate back to the Leo-associated solar plexus, heart, and crown chakras, particularly when it comes to self-perception, self-love, self-worth, and confidence. Finding balance through healing aspects within self and being able to positively attune them helps build confidence in self. Embrace authenticity and find your personal value separate from the opinions or projections of others, which helps you understand your own self-worth, perceive yourself in a more positive way, and feel more confident in the things that make you unique. It also helps you show yourself some grace and understanding through healing and find more emotional calm and balance within yourself. Like I've said before, as you work to heal aspects within self, you develop better discernment, which helps you better filter which negative traits are actually yours to heal and what you're just believing from others who are projecting. It'll also help you better understand that the negative projections of others are usually indicators of aspects of insecurities or that are in need of healing within themselves, more than it actually has to do with you. The birthstone for July-born Leos is ruby. It's thought to help protect against negative energies, strengthen emotional bonds, and restore harmony and mutual respect within relationships, again, relationships of any kind. Ruby is also thought to help with detoxification within the body, boost immune system function, and improve circulation and blood flow. It's associated with the heart chakra, which is also associated with Leos and makes sense as it corresponds to their warmth, particularly in love and for interpersonal connections. Ruby is also said to help with finding clarity if you feel lost in your emotions, which could also help Leos find a healthy balance with reciprocity and balance within their connections. Because sometimes the main character energy means that they can be more domineering in some of their relationships rather than looking at it as an equal partnership kind of thing. Ruby is also thought to help boost energy, especially during times when feeling exhausted. It also promotes courage, boosts self-esteem, and helps with finding confidence as it's associated with passion, success, and wealth. Since these qualities are generally predisposed to being more prominent in Leos, I would actually say that Ruby would be more helpful when there is underactivity in some of these aspects, and I would actually suggest other crystals for recalibrating balance within these specific aspects if they're already overactive. In terms of confidence and passion, if those aspects are already overactive, using too much Ruby might attune it more towards arrogance or over competitiveness, so you just want to be careful with that. The birthstone for August born Leos is Peridot, which is thought to help boost positive energy and help with reducing stress while improving mental clarity. It's thought to help with rebalancing more negatively attuned aspects pertaining to jealousy, resentment, or anger, which can be helpful for Leos who can be more predisposed to these aspects when more negatively attuned, and would be helpful for reestablishing more emotional balance in these aspects. Peridot is also thought to be a powerful heart healer. This is actually a necklace, but it doesn't actually go with what I'm wearing. And it hangs around the heart chakra area. As it pertains to the heart chakra, it's thought to help with emotional balance, self-esteem, and compassion, which can be helpful for Leos in terms of relying less on external validation, being able to navigate when to step up and when to support, as well as being compassionate for the emotional needs of others. Peridot is also associated with peace, abundance, and good fortune. And it's also associated with renewal, which can be helpful for Leos, especially if they've spent a lot of time being more negatively attuned. Beyond birthstones, crystals associated with the solar plexus chakra, such as citrine, amber, and sunstone, can be helpful for assisting with positively attuning some of the more negative aspects Leos can be more predisposed to, as many of them pertain to or indicate imbalances within the solar plexus chakra. I personally use citrine most often for recalibrating aspects that pertain to the solar plexus chakra. It's thought to help with clearing negative energy, help boost confidence within self, and stimulate creativity, which also helps connect the solar plexus to the sacral chakra, as it's thought to assist with healing aspects that pertain to both. Citrine is also thought to help with overcoming emotional blockages and fears, which for Leos, I would say may help with establishing more of a tolerance when it comes to the fear of embarrassment or how they're being perceived by others. Like social fears, since for Leos, that can actually be more based in ego, where they might take things a little bit more personally, and where they may feel the need for excessive external validation, which again, I'd say is more of a confidence thing, which citrine is thought to help rebalance out. Like how Peridot is thought to bring joy, citrine is thought to help boost optimism. It's also thought to help attract wealth, prosperity, and success. Both kind of help reestablish a healthier connection to that as well, which most people would like, but signs like Leo often strive to achieve and maybe obsess about more than others. And as I've previously mentioned, with colors, sounds, crystals, and scents, strength and vibrancy can influence impact. So tuning to yourself will allow you to be better able to determine how much or how little of each tool you need to rebalance within. Eventually, you'll also determine which you find most helpful, especially if there are certain aspects or traits that you're more naturally predisposed to. So I hope you've enjoyed this overview of some of the traits for the astrological sign of Leo and how those can be better balanced out by healing aspects within self, which can help Leos embrace their shine and star quality and passionate charisma while learning to support others so they can shine as well, and not focus so much on seeking external validation from others, which can start to look more like vanity when negatively attuned. Healing and balancing these aspects within self can help reestablish and maintain a healthy flow of internal energy within the solar plexus chakra, which in turn helps with being more confident without arrogance or jealousy, and finding balance within these aspects can help restore a healthy flow of energy within other chakras as well. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested in booking any energy healing services or tarot and oracle personal readings, please check out my Etsy shop or check out my other YouTube channel, Tinfoil Handkerchief Tarot, for general collective readings. Until next time, keep the peace.